Bring actually Ken Jackson to camera a couple minutes earlier than normal for my guest. And it's because I'm so excited to have him on. And I think he brings so much to the conversation. We're going to talk to him about his lived experience as a Burqueño, as a public speaker, a motivational speaker. He's touched the lives of countless young people in schools and in programs that are programs of impact. You saw me put up the treasure hunt that is being hosted by Wings International, because I'm a big fan of Anne and her work with Wings International. And they were smart enough to engage Ken Jackson as their public speaker this year to bring people to the table to support their work. And he did a phenomenal job. I've always been so impressed with his presentations. You know, he embraces some really great positive mental attitude approaches to life. He says that his organization believes in challenging conversations, pushing the limits, and finding your passion. And you can do that at mywhydiscovery.com. And I am going to put up his personal page for the whyinstitute.com, so you can check out his work there. Hey, good old Clarence Smith is joining us this morning. He's a fan and friend of Ken Jackson, and he's with us this morning. And Dr. Lawrence Roybal, it's always great to see you. Thank you for all you do for our community. And we are all about to be empowered this morning by Ken of the KJ Effect. Let me tell you a little bit about Ken before we bring him on and let him tell us. Ken, can you hear me okay? I was getting a little feedback there.
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Folks, help me make sure that I'm staying tuned in and locked in. And if you have any troubles, I'll be watching the comments. So you just call me out, okay? So Ken Jackson, he's not just an author, and you can get a free copy of his ebook online when you go to the kjeffect.com. And I posted that link to his webpage there. And he is an author, a professional speaker, a consultant, an entrepreneur. He did a great job for Intel for, I think, 15 or 16 years. And then he took those skills that he had as not just a leader at Intel and making things happen, but also as a member of the IBEW for the Electrical Workers Union. He brought that knowledge and that sector experience, and then he took it to the next level. He took it to the next level and knew that he could be an entrepreneur and a consultant to businesses to help them reach their maximum potential. You hear me talk all the time about how I pour into all my mentees and I try and leverage the 15,000 contacts I have in this phone for their benefit so that they can take their passion points and reach their maximum potential. Well, KJ Effect does that just every single day. Ken Jackson is a master at helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. He's worked with the Entrepreneur Summits. He's worked with the Office of African American Affairs, the Martin Luther King Jr. State Commission, Wings for Life, lots of organizations like the Ronald McDonald House, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Junior Achievement, Project Feeding Kids, and he does an amazing job with each and every one of them. He works with young adults and he helps them find their full potential, because the best way to do that is to help them realize that full potential that they may not see for themselves as they sit in the space where they are today. You know that my motto in life is that your success in life is directly proportional to the success you help others achieve. And that's why Ken Jackson has been so successful, because he has helped others reach their maximum potential. Ken Jackson, the KJ Effect, thanks, and welcome to Cafecito con Colon on this beautiful Monday morning.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you so much, sir.
You bet. Tell us a little bit about how Ken Jackson got it all started. I know you're a Burqueño for life. You've got that globe behind you because the KJ Effect has helped people around the globe. But tell us where it all started, right in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
It did, sir. I appreciate you. And thanks again. You know, my story's simple. Being from here, I live downtown. My father was a jailman for about 25 years. He also was in the Air Force for another 22 years. My mother was a nutritionist for New Mexico State. Lived down on Roma. I went to the old Washington Middle School when they turned it from the old to the new, back when it was called La Washa, and Dolores Gonzalez. So being able to be a part of that culture, you know, big shout out to the Santiago family for assisting in my upbringing during that time frame. So it was really cool just to be part of that culture. And, you know, Like a lot of people, my parents didn't see eye to eye anymore, ended up getting a divorce, and I moved to the west side of town. Majority of my family, though, grew up in the Kirkland Addition. I'm a member of Mount Olive Baptist Church, so still going to Afro studies at Thomas Bell Community Center back in the day, enjoying life, being around people that look like me, that, you know, have the same ideas, and that culture is just awesome, you know, being Black here in Albuquerque, and moving to the west side of town, you know, so it was just really awesome to be a part of several different types of culture, really being able to see what Albuquerque is really made of, from all different forms of life when it comes to our culture, our backgrounds. And I'm really thankful for my mother for taking that step and, you know, allowing me to be exposed to different cultures. And I think that made world of a difference when that happened, going to Taylor Middle School, graduating from Siebel High School, you know, and being able to see other individuals that didn't look like me, but still got along. And I've got hundreds of friends that I was able to make. And then from that point forward, I did what everybody else was taught to do, you know, go to school, get a degree, and go get that lifelong job, right? That's what we're taught. And
you've got that degree in electronics and engineering, right? Like that's no, yeah. It wasn't underwater basket weaving for Ken Jackson. He was doing engineering.
Well, and here's the thing, you know, I got it, you know, I went to tech school. My mother could not afford to send me to a major college, but you know, the other side of that is I wanted to go to a smaller school because I wanted to get in the workforce, right? I wanted to start life, if you will. So got my degree and ended up at Intel. And, you know, after the first year and a half, 2 years, somewhere in there, I tell people, you know, something just clicked. I realized that at that point, I wasn't in full control of my life. And this is just how I saw it. I wanted more. And something just kept saying, hey, there's more out there. So I began to look at business opportunities here in Albuquerque, and been a business owner here about 29, 30 years in different industries.
Tell us, Ken, about that first business opportunity, because I know that in life, you've got to fall forward a few times before you hit that sweet spot. So tell us about falling forward, Ken. I mean, I think what's phenomenal about you being able to inspire people to turn their dreams into achievement and motivate them to action so they can realize that potential is because you've lived it. Your lived experience is something that's very powerful. Tell us about that first entrepreneurial venture out.
Vending machines, right? At the time, you know, it was kind of a big thing. I purchased some vending machines. I had them in detail shops and car dealers at dealerships and things of that nature. But the thing is I was still working at Intel. So throughout the majority of, you know, my business ownership period, if you will, I was working at Intel. So I'd work all night, come home, sleep for about 3 to 4 hours, get up, run a business, come home, sleep for another 2 hours, and then go to work. So that's what I was doing is, you know, it was the vision that I saw of just wanting more. And really what I thought about a lot was the owner. The owner was never there, right? The owner was doing whatever the owner had to do, but he had a full functioning system that was working for him. So I would always think to myself, well, how can I create a system that's always running so then I can enjoy life like the owner is probably doing? So vending machines is where it started. Then jumpers, I had some of those jumpers for kids, ice cream van, I had a detail shop, a couple cell phone stores with business partners. And
so Ken, I just got to interrupt you because you don't know this, but I wanted to share it with you this morning. See, I knew some of that.
Okay.
I knew you. I knew you had I knew you did the detail, and I knew you had the cell phone. But guess what? So, in my late teens, my early 20s, I was doing vending machines. I had a detail. I was running a car wash and a detail business.
Nice.
And then I went from the car wash and detail business into guess what? Cell phones.
Oh, okay.
So if you can believe it, we've been on this same journey together as entrepreneurs for a very, very long time. So, and I appreciate you sharing that with us because I think that what I want people to take away, particularly my mentees that watch Cafecito con Colon, it's like you were willing to do what others weren't in order to get what others don't have. And that means that not only were you working full time at Intel and you did that for 15 years, but you also sacrificed and then you embrace that entrepreneurial spirit that you had to do things that people just don't think about. Yeah, somebody's got to fill those vending machines. Somebody's got to be washing those cars at the detail shop. And somebody's got to be selling those big old bricks, cell phones, so that people can have connectivity, right, KJ?
Yeah, yeah. And after that, beautiful. You know, some friends and I, we actually started importing horses from Mexico. So we would travel to Chihuahua, Mexico, beautiful place, by the way, you know, on a regular basis, you know, bringing horses in, selling them in Los Lunas auction, you know, things that a lot of people at the time were saying I was crazy to do. You know, why are you doing it? What are you thinking? You got a great job. And they weren't wrong, but they just didn't see what I saw. And that's part of the struggle, if you will, for a lot of people, is understanding that it's, and again, you know, for me, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. So God gave you a vision, right? When God gives you that vision or whatever it may be, it's tough because you're the only one that may see it. So when others don't, they're gonna respond in a way that may seem negative. They just don't see it the way you do. So you have to continue on with that vision because it was given to you and for you to make happen.
That's right. That's right. Tell me what it's like to have that kind of drive and that kind of vision. And actually, you know, you were at La Huasha, as they called it before that. And you talked a little bit about your parents splitting up, and was it the Santiago family not Santiago,
yeah.
Is that right? The Santiago family, right?
Proud to say they're part of my family too. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what that's like. I mean, we spent a lot of time on Cafecito con Colon trying to help the masses, because, you know, by the time it's all said and done, about 1,000 to 2,500 people will watch this video today, and they'll look at Ken Jackson and they'll look up the KJ effect, and they'll look about your worldwide impact and how you've helped people transform their lives from where they are to where they want to be. But your lived experience was one where you're part of a community that that in terms of population, it's less than 3% in New Mexico. And when you walk into the room, almost every time, and I've watched video of you, you're the guy in the front of the room giving the presentation, but you also happen to be the only man who's Black in the room. And tell us a little bit about what that journey's been like and how have you leveraged that as an opportunity, not just something you've had to overcome, but an opportunity you can embrace? Because I know that's how you look at it. So tell me a little bit about that, Ken.
You know, where it starts is just the belief in what I'm doing. So yes, and you're absolutely right. 9 times out of 10, I will be the only Black guy in the room. But I don't look at that part. I look at the effect that I want to have on the people in the room. Mm-hmm. See, so if I know that I'm walking into a room and I have that vision and the result that I want to get and the people that I want to help, the message I want to get across, that part doesn't matter to me at that time. It's what I'm saying and the effect that I'm having going through Toastmasters at the Hispano Chamber, right? That's what we teach. And that's what I began to learn and really focus on. So from that standpoint, I walk into a room and it's the effect that I want to have, the positive effect that I want to have on people, the message, the points that I want to make sure that I get across. So when they leave, they're saying, hey, I never saw it like that. I never thought of it that way. And then it's and of course, right, that people will notice, obviously, right, I'm a Black man, right? And it's there, but then this is what he taught me. This is what he showed me. This is what he helped me with. And then now it's, okay, this is his name and what he was able to do for me. So yes, the feeling is always there, but I can't let that overtake me, because I'm not here to show that part. I'm just here to tell you what I've been missioned to tell you. And that's what I do.
That's terrific. When you were growing up, at some point when you were looking around, tell us about, you have a really unique experience in having that transition from your family and then being embraced by a Hispanic family and really calling it your own. We talk about the multicultural beauty of New Mexico. You lived it in a very significant and personal way. I'm wondering if there was a time when when maybe you realize that, you know what, your lift might be a little heavier than others because of your background?
Okay. Well, and I see what you're saying. I just knew I had to be a better me. So if I could be the best me I could be, then I can't say people had to accept, but they would be more willing to accept who Ken Jackson is. Yeah, I'm from Bootke. I'm proud of it, right? When I went to Thomas Bell and we did Afro studies there, I'm proud of that. We'd go hang out there at the community. So that's where my parents would take me. My family is from there. I'm proud of that. And then being moved to the west side of town, I've got hundreds of friends that don't look like me, that support me, that I support them. So when it comes to putting all of that together, I always think to myself, how can I be the best me I can be, from funny and the sarcastic Ken Jackson that a lot of people know, cracking jokes about everything, that person is just who I am. So I know if I'm true to myself, then the right people will accept me, that are supposed to, that want to, and I'm okay with that.
I appreciate that, and I think that's super, super healthy. I'm distracted by these photos behind me. This over this shoulder here, that's the old courthouse in Las Cruces, and then that's the Mission Church. They're on this other side, and I just, I've been to that location there, both of them, and it's just fun to be in this conference room and be in Las Cruces. And I just want to give a shout out again to Heritage Hotels and Resorts for hosting me this morning. Ken, I know you teach a lot of people a lot of things and how to reach their maximum potential. And I know one of the things that you promoted and that I love is that, you said you got to keep fighting through your storm. You got to keep fighting through your storm. So for Ken Jackson to say you got to keep fighting through your storm, what was the storm for Ken Jackson?
Oh, it wasn't just one, Brian. So as an entrepreneur,
fair enough.
Those who are business owners know the roller coaster, know the empty bank accounts, the sitting at home crying. I've been through that, the ups and downs. But if you look at the direction that you're going, so what I try and help people do is let's just figure out that goal. What are the goals first? And the other thing is writing them down. There are a few scriptures. I don't know the Bible in and out, but hey man, there are a few scriptures that you can honestly just live by, right? Seek and ye shall find, ask and ye shall receive. So it's a matter of asking, well, what are you asking for? But if you realize who you really serve and you put that to the test and then take action towards that, really the obstacles just become, they're big bumps and they're big obstacles, because I can't say it was easy, because it never is. But understanding that, you will be able to get past those. So when you have that vision, you take that action, then that belief along with faith will help you get past all of that. And then collectively, the association that you have too is a large part of it.
Let's hit on that, because I know I've talked on Cafecito before about the importance, and I always stress this to my mentees about having a personal board of directors, a PBOD. And you got to have a personal board of directors, or some people don't look at it that way. They just think about who are you spending your most time with, and who's pouring into you, who's investing in you, who's believing in you. And I know that you really subscribe to that in terms of surrounding yourself with solid people who understand your vision and your mission and help you get to your maximum potential. Isn't that something that you really embrace as a core teaching?
It is. Association matters. Circumstance is circumstance, but association to help you get past some of the circumstances, it really matters. And here's the thing, not everyone is going to be on the same path. And I tell people, look, just because you're not on my road doesn't mean you're on the wrong road. You have your own road. And I want to encourage people to take that road, with that, whatever that is. The problem is the comfort level starts to kick in. You're comfortable around these individuals, and that comfort level is where growth stops happening. So once we get comfortable and we get at ease, and we're around the people that, that may look like us, that may love the same things, but they don't have your vision. So you're going to take that vision, those dreams. And what I tell people is we put them on a shelf or put them in layaway, and we try and make some payments on them every now and then. But ultimately, our association could be what's stopping us from really taking off. So at some point, you're going to have to make the decision to break off at times, to go after that dream, to go after that vision. And some people that are really close to you, they may not be there, or they may not be willing to assist. And I'm not saying it's out of hatred or anything like that. It could just be that it's just not in them. That's not their road. So I encourage people to take the road that's best for them. But there's something in everyone that will get them to that road. It's just trying to find that.
I think that's well stated. Well stated. It makes me think of, and I'll just tell our viewers, Ken Jackson embraces a lot of the teachings of people that have mentored me and the books that I've embraced on my journey. And everybody knows that Zig Ziglar, I spent some personal time with him and his family, and it changed my life. And W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill and Les Brown and Jim Rohn and all these folks that have inspired me over the years with their teachings. I know Ken embraces that. And so when you're talking, Ken, it reminds me of Jim Rohn. He really talked a lot about that in his teachings and saying, look, you don't have to completely disassociate, not take phone calls and all that, but it's a matter of the amount of time you spend with those individuals. You can still love them, but you need to spend a little less time with them. And I think that that's something important, and it's hard for us to do that, right? Especially when we're in a rut and we're in we keep doing the same routine. We're going to keep getting the same results. And that may be fine. But if we're looking to take our game to the next level, we're probably going to have to change some of those constants, right?
Yeah. And that's the reality of it.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Tell me what is I know that last year you did a great event for Wings International with Ann, and tell me about what leads what are your passion points in the social profit sector? I know that you've got a deep faith. When I think of people of deep faith, I think of my surrogate mom who's out there, Ophelia Munzer, who talk about praying without ceasing. I give her plenty of things to pray about, and thank goodness she does. And I know that you said you don't know the scriptures well, but I've heard you on more than one occasion quote a few good ones, and we know that one of the great old saws is, a man without purpose will perish. What is your purpose point? What is your why? What leads you forward when you're serving these social profit, nonprofit organizations that you pour into?
Well, the scripture that kind of that really describes the KJ effect is Luke 22:32. When thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. So to me, what I gather from that is to go back, right? When you have learned and you've made your mistakes, take a few minutes and go back and tell someone else. So that's one of the things that drives me during all this business career, if you will. There was no one there saying, hey, do this, don't do that. So I thought, well, okay, what if I could do that for someone else, right? And then it's about the have-nots. So how do we make the have-nots to have? At least expose them to the opportunity, to the possibilities. People just don't know what's possible because no one's telling them what's possible. So if I make my mission to at least let you know, now you can decide from that point forward, but there's an opportunity here, there's an opportunity there. Let me tell you what I just learned. I'm not an expert at it, but let me just tell you what I learned, where I made my mistakes. Do this, don't do that. A lot of it is we're just not exposing people to what the opportunities are. Imagine if we could actually just tell people the multiple opportunities that are out there that may be for them, they may not be. And then the other side is they have to be received, right? So, right, you have to be able to receive it and be open enough. So the open-minded side of people is really part of it also. But when I talk to Ann and when it's about helping people like that or in those situations, it's more about going back and just helping people see the opportunities. Now, my why is to help people find a better way to achieve their goals. How I do that is by challenging the mindset. What I do is I contribute life experiences, business experiences to help them see the potential and get the results that they want. So that's my why. The mission is still the same. That's the why. But then the purpose is about going back and saying, okay, when I am converted, when I have learned, that's the way I see that, is when I have learned, who am I teaching? And it happens that Ann has an outlet where I can. So anyone that I can pour into with whatever I know, that will benefit them, oh yeah, man, I'm willing to do that, because at least I know my mission would have been completed for that person.
I love that. I love that. And I've seen you live that out, and I know that you are deeply engaged and in touch with your why, and that is so powerful. And I hope that our viewers will go and check out that link that I posted up earlier, and let me post it again to the whyinstitute.com, and you'll see that Ken has a landing page there for the KJ Effect, and I hope you'll check that out and engage with him and pick up on some of his teachings, because I know that he has helped individuals that I know reach their maximum potential, and I know he can do the same for you too. This message brought to you by the KJEffect.com. How's that? Is that pretty good, Ken?
You get that, Ryan? I like it.
Awesome. Hey, we've got a little more time here, and I wanted to see if you would go down. You talk about on with your work. You've spoken about having difficult dialogue and real talk, so to speak, if you will. And even on your landing page, you said, look, we believe in having challenging conversations. And while it is challenging for people like you and me who try and maintain that PMA, that positive mental attitude all the time, and I always say that when people ask me how, they say, who was it last week? We had Clarence on yesterday or on Saturday, and it was Leon Howard. He said, I've known you for all these years. He said, I've never seen you in a bad mood. He said, I've always asked you how you're doing, and it's always fantastic or great or outstanding or remarkable and all these things. He said, you can't always be like that. And I said, well, if it isn't that way at that exact moment, I figure I'm just predicting the near future. How's that? And so I know that you have that same approach to life, and I live a life of gratitude and service. And that's why I find this energy, and that's why I'm always so positive, because I believe I'm living my best life by serving others, and I've got so much to be grateful for. But in terms of a challenging conversation, Ken, we're at a time that I think in your lifetime and mine, we haven't experienced. It is really the modern era civil rights uprising or movement or tipping point. Because of what we saw with the murder of George Floyd, people are all reflecting upon their own space and place and their own role in helping the world reach its maximum potential. Really, the conversation is just what you do every day for individuals and organizations and businesses. And it's kind of to the next level. It's like, how do I make the entirety of the world be a better place for everyone? How do we make sure that the Black man and the Black woman and men of color and women of color and people who have been marginalized have the ability to have a fulfilled life and a life of happiness, not a life of terror or persecution or marginalization? So we're having this big conversation. How do you feel right now as it relates to that conversation, and knowing that you've done so many positive things, but yet you are still a Black man in our community who is seeing all this swirl around you, right? Like, I know you're not out there doing what others are doing necessarily, protesting, marching down the street, going on Central. But how does Ken Jackson deal or cope with or process? I mean, there still has to be a processing, even for the KJ Effect founder, Ken Jackson. Do you still have to be processing this? So will you share with us what that's been like for you over the last 4 months?
Okay, so a couple things. Let's look at it like this. So you've heard the term think outside of the box.
Yep.
What I believe is that we don't need to just think outside of the box. I believe we should step outside of the box. And what I mean by that is the way we may have been taught, or some of the things that we only subject to because we're in that box. And right throughout different nationalities, we're drawn to people that look like us, or we have a lot in common, right? So now we're comfortable in this box. So we make an attempt to think outside the box, but what if we were to step outside of that box and then try and step into someone else's box and say, hey, what is it like living in this box? Because I know what it's like living in my box. And I'll tell you what it's like living in my box if you tell me what it's like living in your box. So if we can actually start doing that, right? And before we say anything, let's just listen. Ask the question, what's it like living in this box? And just listen without any type of judgment. And I mean, everyone just jump out of your box just once or twice, right? Get out of it and then jump into someone else's just to see from their standpoint. From people that don't look like me, they have, right? There are things that need to be said because, right, we need to step into that box. What is it like on that side? What is it, and I just believe that if we could actually open up that, not just look or think outside of it, but step outside of the box that you're in, because we're all in one, right? And whether we want to admit it or not, we're comfortable in this box. But if you were to just try and step in someone else's just to see what it's like, so then our minds can open up. So we're going to, we need to listen before we speak. And we ask a question and then wait for the response. But then the other side is take in that response, not as an attack, but just as a response. So now we're in the area, to me, it would be of understanding. Okay, I understand. Now I'm understanding where you're coming from. Now I'm starting to see where you're coming from. And now when I go back to my box, it's going to be more of an open dialogue, because now I can say, hey, in that box over there, this is kind of how they see this. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, right? So now we can start having the dialogue where more understanding is coming into play. So now we're not afraid to step outside of the box. We're not just thinking outside of it and saying, oh, yeah, we'll do that, but we're stepping outside of it. And then as far as processing, I guess, the battle or the fight, if you will, Brian, look at it like this. When David had to go fight Goliath, they told David that they were going to give him armor. They were going to give him a shield. They were going to give him a sword. And he looked at it and said, I cannot carry all this. This is not how I fight this particular battle. David was a slinger, and he was the best at it. So when you look at that battle, he fought the battle the best way he knew how. And when we look at our personal battles, the outside battles, it's how you're figuring out the best way for you to fight that battle, whether it be going to people that don't look like me and saying, hey, I want to help you. And I want you to know that regardless of what you may see, hey, we're here to work with everyone as much as possible. People that don't look like me are going out, stepping out of the box, and they're going to fight the battle when it comes to how people may feel about them. And they're saying, hey, we're here to support you. So when you think of that battle in particular, David was a slinger, and he had to fight that battle. He had to fight Goliath the best way he knew how. So for me, I am not that person, but I am still fighting the battle, whether you see me or not, whether I'm on TV or not. This is how I take on that David and say, okay, what can I do to have a positive impact? So then we can all get the result, at least close to what we're looking for when it comes to when this is all said and done with. And there's the infinite and the finite mindset. This may be an infinite battle, so there's no winner or loser. It's just a matter of an ongoing process to where that understanding grows. So now the result we're looking for is a mind that's opened up on all sides, and then a larger understanding when things happen, of how they happen, when they happened. So now we're in that infinite mindset where we know this is going to be a continuous thing. It's not a one and done. So now we can process with each other more and more.
I love that. And that infinite mindset is also closely connected to what we've talked about before here on Cafecito con Colon, about having that abundance mindset instead of the scarcity mindset. And so I appreciate you pointing that out. And, we're about to be now at 2 months since the murder of George Floyd. We've had, since that time, we have amplified Black voices. And Ken, you just bring a beautiful and different perspective to this conversation that I think is highly valued, super important, and I just appreciate your candor on that. Can you talk a little bit more, because I know you share lots of nuggets and pearls of wisdom, and many of them are biblically based in the parables and in the stories of the Bible. But that one of David and Goliath, I know, is a good one. Talk to us a little bit about, maybe give your tip about the stone in that David and Goliath story, because I think that it is relevant to everybody. Whether you're PLC Enterprises, Patricia L. Chavez, or whether you're Nikki Armijo, who you've been guiding for a decade now and who I've been pouring into for a long time. Nikki's out here watching today, and she's a young woman professional. Or whether you're even Clarence Smith, who's writing the next chapter of a very long book of success, I think all of us hearing what you have to say about David and Goliath, particularly as it relates to that slingshot and stone. Tell us about that, Ken?
So when I look at that story, right, and you've heard it told several different ways, and the view of it, right, taking out the giant. When I really looked at it, to me, the most important thing was that stone, right? He picked up that fine stone and what he did with it. But when it comes to the stone itself, it had to be in motion. See, a lot of times, and we've heard this land of mañana and that's stigma. It's motion. It's the action that he had to take. So the stone is what knocked out Goliath, but it was the motion of that stone. It wasn't just sitting there. It wasn't sitting playing video games. It wasn't sitting complaining. It wasn't sitting, thinking of everything wrong. He had to put it in motion, and that motion is what knocked out that giant. So I always encourage people, look, you're going to have to take some action towards the giant. You're going to have to take some steps towards the giant in your life, whatever it may be, because there's going to be several. But I looked at it and I thought to myself, well, if he had not actually put that stone in motion, the giant wouldn't have fell. And then the other thing is he asked the question, what do I get if I knock out the giant? So then there is the goal, right? There was the reward and the goal. So then that set in motion also his thought process. So all of this was not a story of sitting. It was a story of action, positive action, because of the result that he wanted. And the result was going to be beneficial to not just him, but many. So if you're facing a giant right now, whatever it may be, then let's look at the result, not just for you, but for the many. Because your fight, that battle that you may feel is insignificant, can be a huge part of someone else's fight. So there's the situation and the story. The situation may be a struggle right now, but that situation, when fought and won, can contribute to a lot of stories that have a larger impact on more people. So move the stone, throw the stone. You are the stone. Take action, because Goliath is just going to stand there thinking that, he or she's tormenting you. That situation is tormenting you. But then you get to decide how that story ends. So continue with the story. The situation is just the situation and the circumstance. Put that rock in motion, because, the only way the giants are going to fall is with action.
Put that rock in motion, ladies and gentlemen. What a beautiful, beautiful concept. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I certainly was encouraged when I first heard that story, and you laid it out beautifully for us today. And that's what so many people are doing during this time, is they're putting that stone into motion, whether it's with their deep desire to do what you just said, which is listen for understanding. Listen so that we can understand. Take ourselves out of our own box and step into that box of someone else. We've said it probably every day we've had Cafecito for the last 2 months. We've talked about the importance of listening. How can you be a better ally? How can you be a better accomplice in advancing our community and our society to be a society that lifts up all people? And it always comes down to listening. And so I appreciate you hitting that home. Listen to understand, because far too often, and Ken, you probably can appreciate this, but that the majority of us, when we're listening, we're actually thinking about how we're going to respond before we take the time to listen to what somebody's saying. Isn't that right?
Yeah. We're waiting to talk instead of listening to learn.
That's exactly it. Hey, I got to write that one down. We are waiting to talk instead of listening to learn, and being active listeners to actually hear what people are saying, and so that we can actually feel it, right? Because we can't understand it unless we feel it. What Maya is attributed with this quote all the time, but I think it precedes her. I think if she was still with us, she would say, I actually lifted that off of somebody else. but she always gets a lot of credit for it. But, you know, she said, you'll never remember what I said, but you'll always remember how I made you
feel.
That's exactly right. And so we have to listen so that we can feel it. Go ahead, Ken.
Well, you know, and sometimes it boils down to the relationship you have with the window and the mirror. And I work to make sure I have a good relationship with the window and the mirror. And what I mean by that is when things are going well and everything's on point, we tend to pick up the mirror. And we look at that mirror and say, you did a really good job. But then when things tend to go bad, we put down the mirror and we pick up the window and we say, hey, look, that person over there did that. That person over there, that wasn't me. That was that person. So really identifying and establishing a good relationship with the window and the mirror, because when things go wrong, most likely we should pick up the mirror first and either say, what could I have done or what have I done? How can I make this better? And then pick up the window, because if I'm asking myself, how can I make it better? It's the people outside the window that I may be able to help. So, you know, that relationship matters to me in lives, because if you're only looking at the mirror during the good times, you're missing out on looking at the people through that window that really could use your help, that could use your input. And then when things go bad, that window, it's like the window gets big, right? Look at all those people, they're doing right, and he or she's doing wrong, and that's when all of that's kicked in, and we put that mirror down. And sometimes if we can just pick it up a little more, because, hey man, no one pushed me into the mistakes I made. I screwed up a lot, right? I made mistakes. The roller coaster was on me. I walked out of Intel. I quit Intel, right? So when I lost and money was gone and I'm crying, I had to pick that mirror up. I can't say it was because of something else. Man, I did that. But I knew by holding that mirror, that same person could actually get out of the situation. It just took motion. It took action. I had to be the rock, right? The Goliath at the time was being broke or not understanding or not having a mentor. So I just believe if we can have a better relationship with that window and that mirror and stepping out of the box and then taking the action towards Goliath as much as we possibly can. I believe there are more slingers out there than we think, than we believe. And I'm just saying, pick the rock up and put it in motion and knock down the Goliath that's in your life, and then pick up that mirror and be proud about it.
Ken, the KJ Effect Jackson brings real talk to Cafecito con Colon. And I told you were going to be motivated and inspired. You know, when I walked in this morning, there was this huge mirror in the conference room. And I was admiring it earlier. And now I won't be able to look at a mirror without thinking of Ken Jackson, the KJ Effect, because I'm going to try and increase the quality of my relationship with the window and the mirror. I'm going to make sure that we decrease the time looking through the window, and I'm going to increase the time looking at the mirror. Because he's right. When I've lost all this weight, I love looking in the mirror. But it's when I put on the weight that I need to look in the mirror even more, right? When I have that success, I love looking in the mirror. When I have that failure, I look away and through the window. And so I'm going to change that up a bit, and I'm going to credit you with helping me do that. So thank you for that beautiful, beautiful analogy. I think that's really spectacular. And the other thing that KJ, he left out of the story today, Ken Jackson, when he recites that great story of David and Goliath, he has a great thought in there. You know, he talked to us about battling our giants, and he talked about how for him, you know, he took that leap of faith and he quit out there at Intel when probably tons of people were saying, look, you've got security, you've got consistency, you've got capacity, you've got where you're working with the largest company in the state of New Mexico, and you're going to walk away? Like, you've lost your mind, young Ken Jackson, right? I'm sure you heard that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I should say younger Ken Jackson, because Ken Jackson's still pretty doggone young. But younger Ken Jackson, you have lost your marbles. Young man, get back in line, get back in there, punch your clock, and do what everybody else is doing. Go to work. But he had a different vision, and he took a chance, and he slung that stone. And look where he is today. He's making a difference in countless lives across the globe, And Hey, he says there, he says, it may be your job, it may be your boss. I don't know who your Goliath is. It may even be somebody who looks like someone in your family. Isn't that right, Cage?
It's true. It is. It is. And
That's
it's
right.
tough to accept, but it really
That's right. Because there's a lot of naysayers out there. You know, one of the things I take the time to share with my mentees is you have to be careful who you trust with your dreams.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of dream crushers out there. There are a lot of dream crushers out there, and you share your dreams with dream crushers, and you're going to have to lift an even heavier load. You're going to have to push that boulder up the hill both ways if dream crushers are coming at you from the left and the right. But you got to be careful who you share those dreams with. And when you are intentional about who you share your dreams with,
Yeah.
it gets back to those people around you that are only invested in your success.
Yeah.
And that's who I encourage my mentees to share their dreams with, people who are invested in their success, that absolutely, like Ken Jackson, want to see them from where they are to where they want to be. And they want to help them get there. They pour into them. They understand that person's potential is probably even greater than they could realize at any given moment, because the situation doesn't have to dictate the next chapter of the story. Isn't that right, Ken?
Yep. Yep. And you know, it's the fear of all of it. The fear of failure, the fear of I can't, you know, all of that kicks in. And man, it kicks in with me too, Brian. I go through the exact same thing. I'm no better, no smarter than anybody else. I see those same obstacles, but it's the vision, right? So the way I saw it was that sight will help you see the next 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll get you paycheck to paycheck, but your vision will help you identify your entire life and where you want to go. So if I just keep focusing on the vision that I want and the amount of people that I want to help and help people identify their why and move them forward, then that's the vision. But your sight can actually blind you a lot of times. And when your sight starts to blind you, that means your vision is getting dim, and you need to focus on that vision. And fear and doubt, anger, they all kick in and they contribute. But when fear calls on its friends of doubt, then you need your faith to call on its friends of hope, of desire, of belief. See, faith has friends too. So does doubt.
Right. Faith has friends.
Right? Doubt has hate. Doubt has disbelief. Doubt has anger. Doubt has all these, right? He has these friends, but faith has friends. So if you allow faith to call her friends, and she's going to call them up and she's going to say, hey, come on out, because we need hope to join us. We need belief to join us, because we've got this battle and we want to help this individual win this battle. Then I lean towards faith, and I just follow that direction, because those figures, I know they're slingers. I know they're going to bring it. I know they're going to help me knock out these Davids in my life, or these Goliaths in my life. So bring along those friends when you start seeing doubt, call up his friends.
Hey, I love it. I mean, you got to have the right friends to call upon, because their friends have the capacity to lift you up and help you reach your maximum potential. And if you want to reach your maximum potential, if you want your organization to be inspired and to help reach its maximum potential, whether it's in business or social profit, you got to call on the KJEffect.com. And that is led and the visionary and the power and the force who understands the difference between the mirror and the window and understands that you got to listen to understand. Reach out to Ken Jackson. He is truly amazing. I am honored to spend this morning with you. Now, I want to know the one thing on Ken. He's done it all. He's inspired people around the globe. You see it behind him, folks. See all those little points of light? Those are all the places he's been and spoken. No, I'm just kidding. But the truth is, he has impacted people around the world. And he's made a difference in my life. And you've made me a better man by pouring into me this morning and our viewers on Cafecito con Colon. But what's on Ken Jackson's next list? Yes, you've done all this and you're about to do more. What's the next big step? Because I want to leave on that note, because I want to leave with knowing on that bucket list, the next step, the next stop for Ken Jackson is
to really contribute to the vision of Dr. Gary Sanchez and the Y Institute. Our goal is to help 1 billion people realize their why, whatever that may be. So on this mission, it's really about helping people find the why. It all needs to start with why. Why do you want this? Why do you want that? But if we can help enough people actually see that, we believe that that's going to open up the doors to the how and the what, along with helping people see the direction, that clarity that a lot of people don't have. The people that feel stuck. What about now? Where are we going to go here? But let's establish this why first. We establish that why, help people visualize what it is that they want, no matter what. If it's working and becoming a CEO, that's awesome. How can we help you do it? If it's working at McDonald's and then eventually owning one, if you choose to, what can we do to help you, help you do that also? So that's really the next step. I'm looking to really take the brand to helping more people establish that why, and then figuring out a line of goals, and then helping people achieve those goals.
And I know that's exactly what you're going to do. And Dr. Gary does it well. And folks, we had one of our viewers post up Simon Sinek's TED Talk that tipped, and then he wrote a book, and then he created all these platforms and capacity building opportunities. And if you want to really take Simon's concept to the next level, Dr. Gary and Ken Jackson have created a unique vehicle to be able to help you really understand your why, to help you understand how to get there quicker, how to really kind of hone that verbiage and that language to help you even understand what may be bouncing around here as your why. They help you hone it into a very succinct, spectacular message for yourself to embrace every single day as you reach your maximum potential. Ken Jackson can help you do that through the KJ Effect.
I did just want to clarify. So Dr. Gary Sanchez has put this together. His team, the people that he's put in his circle, he worked with Simon Sinek. He's already reached over 40,000 plus people with his message. He's the one that's mentoring me. They're teaching me. Okay. And I just want to clarify that he's mentoring I'm learning from his entire team and what they're doing. And I'm just here to contribute to that goal that his organization has right now of hitting 1 billion people.
Hey, don't be shaving off my message, KJ Effect, Ken Jackson. We want people to call on Ken Jackson. Dr. Gary's awesome. I've worked with him. I've listened to him. I've spent time with him. He's inspired me. And I want people to reach out to the kjeffect.com to get on board. They do great things. And, I haven't promoted a lot of individuals, platforms, or products on Cafecito con Colon, but I felt very comfortable inviting you on because you've got just a unique story. You and I try and embrace the same mindset on a daily basis. And even if your method of monetizing what you're passionate about means I'm promoting your product, I still wanted to do that today. And I don't mind doing it because I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing, and I know you're changing lives for the better. And I just want to say thank you for bringing your lived experience here. You will help us listen to understand. You will help us step out from our own box into someone else's box. You will help us have a better relationship and a stronger relationship with the mirror instead of the window. Understand there's maybe a place for both, but we should spend most of our time looking in the mirror. So thank you, Ken Jackson, for being with us today on Cafecito con Colon. We look forward to seeing everybody back here tomorrow. Did I talk too much, or is there something you wanted to share that I didn't give you a chance to, Ken? The good news is we don't have to pay any bills, and it's free to be online. So I don't, it may be 10:02, but I can still go for another 60 seconds. You got something you want to share I didn't give you a chance to?
No, my friend, I'm from Bootcamp, so if there was something I wanted to say, I'd just tell you. So
you get right in there and do it. All right. Here's one of my favorite Bootcampers. Don't forget to check out Ken Jackson on the KJ Effect. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on Cafecito con Colon.